Before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you that while Caitlin and Sophia are dietitians, we're not your dietitians. This means the information shared in the Food Freedom Fertility podcast is intended to entertain, educate, and inform. It is not a substitute for medical care. This information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making any changes.
Welcome to another episode of Food Freedom and Fertility. This is a podcast with two dietitian best friends in the functional medicine and fertility space, giving you all the evidence-based information and everything you need to know to empower you to have the reins of your fertility journey, be in the best seat to advocate for yourself and nourish yourself from home. Of course, we're dietitians, we want to do that. This is a little bit of a solo episode for me because we have the opportunity to interview a really exciting guest. And I'm going to give a little bit of a intro before I even hand the mic over a little bit. Sophia and I have for a very long time been advocating for women to get to know their menstrual cycle so that they can make informed decisions about trying to conceive, being able to avoid conception if they want to without having to use other forms of contraception like birth control pills. We're very much in favor of us being the expert on our own cycle when we walk in to speak with an OBGYN or a reproductive endocrinologist to ask them to assist us in our journeys. And gathering data is what is so important for us to be able to arm ourselves with the right information. Data is really power. And your body is miraculous. It is incredible. It gives you more data than you can really get from the doctor walking in getting a blood draw. We can answer the question, one, if you're ovulating, two, when you're ovulating, and get insights into the healthfulness of your cycle with just data your body gives us. And one of those data points is your temperature, your basal body temperature. And I know you've heard that Tempdrop is a sponsor of this summer season. It's really a dream sponsor for us because Sophia and I have recommended for years the Tempdrop FemTech device that makes gathering these basal body temperatures just that much easier. And today, not only do we have the CEO on the podcast, we have a founder who developed this technology because of his and his partner's own journey to growing their family. So, Michael, I want to introduce you very warmly, and maybe you could start off by telling us that little tidbit about your family's growth process and how you jumped into the world of female technology, because most people that are passionate about this, they're more of a Michelle perhaps than a Michael. Though we're very thankful you brought your expertise to the game, so welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great opportunity for me to tell the story a little bit about behind the scenes of Tempdrop. So yes, my wife and I, we have 3 kids now. They're all grown up. The youngest is 12, so we've been through the journey a while ago, but after our firstborn, who was it was very easy to get conceived, for our wife to be conceived. The second one took, I think, over 6 months, which is enough time for you to start stressing out and asking yourself, maybe something's wrong. And at that time was the first time I became aware, both of us actually became aware of, timing intercourse and the correlation between body temperature or BBT with ovulation. And being an engineer, finally figuring this out, I was amazed, and I thought to myself, hey, it could be really, really cool if there'll be a device that will automatically, hassle-free, during sleep, will record the temperature very accurately and then sync it to your smartphone, and then you'll be able to track your body and understand really what's going on. So this is basically the inception of Tempdrop and what made me start pursuing this goal. I have a relevant background, a mechanical engineer and a master's in biomedical engineering. So I was
You were ripe. You were ready for like that idea that you would have passion about.
I was ready. I was ready. I was always curious about temperature monitoring, and I knew it's a challenge to measure accurately your temperature on the skin. So this was the challenge I wanted to address, and happily I was able to achieve that.
So, you just mentioned something really helpful, measuring temperature on the skin. I think most of us are used to walking to the doctor's office, at least here in the States, and like the first temp they're going to take is of your forehead. This became super common in the COVID days because
Mhm.
where I lived anyway in the States, to walk in the grocery store, you had your temperature taken. And very often people would be surprised to see that their temperature was like 99.1 and they're like, why is it still saying it's green? Or more often 97.3 and it's still showing green. So there's got to be something that has to do with an external temperature reading versus an internal temperature reading, which I think is where a lot of the science started with BBT, right? Oral body temperature, or even vaginal or anal, like another internal barometer.
Yeah, well, actually, all you need is a reliable daily reference, and a reliable daily reference needs to be something that is kind of isolated from the environment. Um, and if you track it daily, then of course you would see the correlation with ovulation because of progesterone and the different hormones that control your body temperature. So and with regards to COVID and measuring your temperature for fever, it doesn't have to be that accurate. But
Right.
if you track your cycle and ovulation, the difference is half of a degree, half of a Celsius degree in most cases.
Mhm. Right.
Um, so yeah, so the whole idea of accurately measuring your temperature on the skin, when I approached that, I went to read some research and I found out that if you measure your armpit temperature for 12 minutes and up, it's as good as core body temperature. And this
Wow.
sparked basically the whole concept of, okay, how can I put something here for more than 12 minutes, comfortable enough, and from that derive the real basal temperature during sleep.
Wow. So that's so interesting to me. Give me a time point. When did you start asking this question and start developing the technology behind it?
A very, very long time ago. So the idea incepted in 2012. Yeah,
Okay.
believe it or not.
I believe it.
Then, yes, later on, I eventually was able to accomplish my goals and reach the mark in 2017, which we eventually launched the device. And during those years, I was mostly focused on achieving the best method to record the body temperature during sleep. And the whole principle of action of Tempdrop, because I knew that I want to retrieve the true body temperature axillary from the armpit, so I incorporated in this sensor a motion sensor and also a reference temperature sensor, uh, which basically what it does when your arm is closed for over 12 minutes, then the two sensors sense the same temperature because it's like, it's thermally isolated. And I know that at this point of time in the night, this is the real body temperature. Now, when the hand moves or when the user is, raising her arm, or then the environment affects the measurement area. But because we have two temperature sensors, acceleration inside that, I know that the hand has moved. I can analyze all the data in the morning and then filter out those environmental noises and really derive a true temperature trend throughout the night. And that's basically the how we can become so accurate, compared to oral thermometers or I don't know rings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We are measuring your accelerated temperature throughout the night, throughout the sleep. We collect all the data and you derive just one number from it, which is your sleeping temperature.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've always like guessed at how it was done, knowing that there had to have been multiple temperatures taken and some sort of aggregation and average of sorts to that. But understanding that as someone who's used it very often, having it on your arm and then wondering if I'm laying on my back, how different is that from when I'm laying on my side? And it's really cool to
Well,
hear the motion sensor piece of it.
yeah. The motion sensor is really, I think, what makes it, what helps it understand the context of the measurement. And because we collect the data throughout the night and we retain all of it, it allows us really to get accurate measurements and filter out the noises.
It's so amazing. So, in terms of bringing this to market in 2017, it's interesting hearing that time point because I struggled to conceive my first daughter, who was born in September of 2017. And I was on a 3+ year journey learning to track my cycle, seeing different specialists. And this product wasn't available. I had that baby. And when I started trying to conceive the second time and really broke into the fertility market as a practitioner, that's when I started asking questions about what could we do beyond an oral thermometer. And I'm sure that's perhaps when the product was maybe brought to the market in the States, or did you start in the States?
Yes, actually, the whole growth and formation of Tempdrop, it started as a line in my notebook and slowly grew to a company. A lot of it was thanks to the FAM community, fertility awareness method, which
Mm-hmm.
again, something I became aware of when I started doing what I did and understanding the market and doing research about the market and reaching out to FAM instructors, FAM users, and really knowing how much body literacy is something that can make you so much smarter and understand what you're doing, and also has those users had the inner energy to keep on doing these things and understand their bodies. And this what helped us grow in a way,
Mm-hmm.
because this know your body, show me the data. Those are things that, as you mentioned earlier, I truly could resonate with. And again, if only you would understand what's going on inside your body. I felt like, as a man, I don't have. It's very when I developed Temptrop and I wore, the first prototypes, very boring. Like I mean, the daily,
There was
it's very
no,
boring.
you didn't ovulate?
There's there's no pattern there. But
Yeah.
when you look at females' cycles, it's for me, it's amazing. Really, it tells a story. It shows so many things. Even after someone
Ovulation
gets pregnant,
happens.
then the
Uh-huh.
chart stays elevated, and
Uh-huh.
and I mean it's amazing. So this is really, I guess, the passion that got me moving more and more forward, because first of all, I saw how much it could change people's lives and how much it could help women understand their bodies and their partners understand their bodies. Again, when we started, I had no idea about this. My wife and I, both of us, did not know about timing intercourse and the correlation between temperature and ovulation. But if you only bring this knowledge to people, they can be
Yeah.
so much smarter. They can
Mm-hmm.
have so much less stress in them when they try to conceive, because they
Mm-hmm.
understand. And when you understand, you can decide.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was trying to do throughout those years.
Well, and you've made a huge impact. I have to ask you, are any of these three beautiful children girls?
Girls, yeah, two girls. Yes, one
Two
of them
girls.
is, of course, yeah, she is using Tempdrop.
I was
She
just going to
wanted.
ask you, how does that make you feel as a father to have impacted the landscape, that one of your daughters could be that much more informed about her own body to be making decisions about it? I mean, this wasn't available over 10 years ago, 10 years ago even.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of a geek, so again, when I always believe that knowledge is power, and if you know something, and if there's a small gadget that can help you understand so much about your body, then yeah, I guess they're kind of proud.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're proud, but I think part of why I asked the question is I got diagnosed with PCOS at 18. And at 18, when I asked the doctor what the condition was, because I had never heard of it before, he told me it was the number one reason in America that women can't have children.
Yeah.
And that was
Yes.
back in 2003. And I have two daughters, 8 and 6 years old. And damned if I'm going to let that be that statistic for them. Like, my
Yeah.
job is to change the fertility landscape for them, but for all the little girls that were 6 and 8 years old that had the same dream and carried around a little baby doll and wanted to be a mom just like me. I mean, my daughter and I were looking at videos the other day of her as a little girl, and she's breastfeeding her baby doll because that is her dream at 4 years old. She wants to be a mom, and she saw me breastfeeding. And so that was what was normal and beautiful and good to her. And I will be very upset if she walks into a doctor's office at 18 and gets this diagnosis and is told the same thing. Because the truth of the matter is, I'd like to ask you, I was told in our less than mediocre sex education that sex could result in a baby, and so you better abstain or cover up. Like, there was no talk about when or that your body could tell you anything. In the States, the people that get any vantage into that, either their parents are super crunchy, as we would say, and have somehow found this out, or they're Catholic, because in the Catholic
Yeah.
tradition, you don't use birth
Natural
control.
family
And
planning.
so you
Yes.
have to have natural family planning. And so we've got these
Hmm.
like two very extreme boundaries, and everybody in between that goes to a public education here who learns nothing. And sex is so taboo, most families don't talk about it.
That's very true, and I can. You asked about my journey, and one thing that I have seen throughout my journey is the slow awareness of, know your body, track your cycle, all those fertility apps now that we have, like Flow and Clue and the big
Mhm.
ones. Um, when I started, there was a very small number of such apps, and I think even to this day, if you go to an OBGYN, they would most likely not recommend fertility awareness methods. They will not acknowledge the fact that you can understand so many things if you only track your temperature and other symptoms. It's a shame, but I do think that things are changing. Social networks, internet, apps, gadgets, we all see the effect that it has, and we all see the power it can give to those who have no idea what's going on in their bodies. So
Mhm.
yes, I really, really, we try to promote as much as possible body literacy and knowing your body, and you know, it's not that complicated to track your cycle, especially if you have a Tempdrop.
Yeah, and I will say the difference between owning a temp drop and doing this a little bit more manually is the information downloads straight to your phone and goes within the temp drop app. You can look at charts and you can track other things like your cervical mucus, etc. Um, but the other piece of it is you don't have to wake up at the same time every day. And I have found this at the beginning when I started promoting it. A lot of my
Hmm.
clients, I had a few people coming to me with secondary infertility, but most of my clients were trying to get pregnant for the first time. But now I've been in the game so long, I have clients coming back to me and they have one or two or three kids. And what happens when you have one or two or three kids? You wake up a lot at night.
Hmm.
And so, an oral basal body temperature thermometer, which works and can be helpful, and is less expensive. Like, let's be obvious about its benefits. It's a lower price point.
Yeah.
But can you ensure you just slept for like 4 hours straight before you took your temperature?
Yeah,
Do
not only
you?
that, it really depends on when you woke up, what time. The circadian rhythm, controls the body temperature. And even if you're a night shift worker, or not even like
Exactly.
if you have kids, of course. So all of these life situations, if you're a stewardess, all of these life situations make it really hard to track with a manual thermometer. Yes.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I think is very interesting, I wonder if you've come to see this affecting maybe who's purchasing the device, but maybe not even so much those trying to conceive, but those that are trying to work in sync with their own cycles. So you just spoke about a circadian rhythm. Women have more rhythms than men do, and one of them is around a monthly rhythm. And I am personally, sorry if this is too much information for Michael, I know it won't be for the listeners, but I just started my period. My energy levels, my creativity, very different than it was a week ago. Like my
Hmm.
progesterone just bottomed out and my estrogen is taking the stage, and I'm more encouraged. I'm ready to go lift heavy weights. I feel different than last week. I wanted to like hibernate.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the creative projects weren't so interesting. And so when you have more information about where you are in your cycle, it's not just about timing sex, even. It's about saying, when do I take on that big project at work? When do I, like, you have 2 months to write that research paper? Maybe focus in your follicular phase, not your luteal phase. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
knowledge is power in so many different ways.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think the whole concept of understanding your body and sharing the data.
Hey, podcast listener, we are taking a break from this episode to talk about our sponsor for this summer season, and that is, of course, Tempdrop. It has been no secret on this podcast for many years that Caitlin and I love Tempdrop, specifically because it measures your basal body temperature while you are still sleeping. This is so key to anybody who is, one, like me, and forgets to take their temperature in the morning, and two, who wakes up at inconsistent times. When you are manually using a basal body temperature thermometer, like one that you'd find at the drugstore or buy online, you have to take your temperature at the exact same time every morning. This is great if you have a really predictable schedule and you always know what you're up to. You wake up at the same time every day without fail. This is not great for those of us who maybe are trying for a second or a third baby and are already waking up in the night with our existing children. And so, when exactly was our temperature the lowest and which one are we counting as our wake up? This is also not great if you are a shift worker or if your schedule shifts even slightly. I'm talking about a 15-minute difference in when you wake up is going to skew your basal body temperature. That is why we love the temp drop on this podcast. It is such an easy and simple way to automate your fertility awareness method, regardless of your unique journey. It is great for if you have a irregular cycle, like if you have PCOS or you're recovering from hypothalamic amenorrhea and you want to know when and if you're ovulating at all and you don't have like a super consistent chart to start with. And it is great for anybody who just wants one less thing to think about. Tempdrop does not rely on your memory. It relies on science-backed data that is always improving and always growing and is truly the highest quality. Tempdrop is committed to supporting individuals with connecting with their bodies. They support to make things more accessible rather than replacing existing methods. Tempdrop is here to make what you're already doing easier. So if you want to try out Tempdrop and sort of automate your fertility awareness temperature taking, use code FFF15 at checkout at tempdrop.com.
If you want my personal opinion, listeners, I used to not so much love the Tempdrop app when it was first released, but they've made so many changes. It is if you used the app 2 years ago, it's so much different than what it is today. I feel like it's much more powerful, but I've really enjoyed the Tempdrop app.
Thank you. And we are working on adding more features to it, and soon we will have kind of an overall new features in the app as well coming up. But yeah, and the whole idea is to make tracking your cycle as easy as possible, hassle-free, You can share the data with your physician, your nutritionist, your FAM instructor easily through the app. Um, you can you don't need to take like a charging cable with you anywhere. It's a standard coin cell battery. So the whole life's companion, share the data, see the
I love
data,
that.
understand your body. It's really something we try to promote as much as possible.
And something, Michael, that I think is really powerful is sharing the data with your partner. So,
Hmm.
anybody that's been listening to the podcast for a while may have heard this recommendation before, but when you're trying to conceive for a long time, you had a 6-month window for your second child where you start asking questions. And sex is great, fun, feels good. But when you're trying to conceive, it has this like layer of a different, you're just in a different context. You view it a little bit differently. Sometimes men get performance anxiety because honestly, when women want to get pregnant, whether we orgasm or not is not as important as did we get it done, right?
Hmm.
But as a woman, we carry so much mental load about so many things. Like, I'm about to go out of town in 2 days, and the spreadsheet I had to create for me to leave for a week, for children to get to school on time, snacks to be there, this and that. These are the grocery orders I do on Fridays. Just all of that I have to give to someone, and they'll do 90% of it and they'll be okay. But to also then be answering the question to your partner every day, like, are we fertile? Does it look like we're getting fertile? If you're trying to improve your cycle and you're frustrated that ovulation isn't happening, and then on top of that, you're having to answer this question all the time, can get really hard. And so I have, for a lot of my personal clients, recommended share your chart with your partner. Help him understand at the very least what cervical mucus to look for and if a temperature spike has come up. If he can go back and look at the last 3 or 4 cycles and see where the spike happened, and in real time can, when he's just thinking about you during the day and thinking about what it will be like tonight when he finally gets to see you again, and could this be really fun spontaneous sex, and can I romantically entice you to the bedroom without having to think about, like, we have to get this done, or you don't have to think about that, partner, wife. uh, it can be really relieving to just be like, just check the app. Just check the app.
Hmm.
Don't
Hmm.
ask me. Woo me. Like, it
Yeah.
can just change a lot. And it's one less thing that you have to do. And with Tempdrop, you sync it to a phone, right? So you take the temperature, then in the morning, you open up the app and say, I'm syncing this, right? You push a button. You can even make that your partner's job. You take the temp drop band off, hand him the band, because it's nice, especially with the burden that women carry in terms of the procedures and appointments in truly an infertility journey. It's really nice to have like one thing you can be like, and this is your job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
And
So
indeed, the
I,
mental overload when when you're trying to conceive and month over month things aren't happening as you want them to, it's growing and growing, and at some point you start asking yourself, is there something wrong? But then again, when you have the information in front of you and an app that can interpret the data for you, not everyone can understand fertility awareness charts. So again, we try to make this kind of body rhythm more understandable through the app.
Mhm. Tell me something that would surprise us about the company. Like, what would be like a fun piece of information just the general user might not know, that's like a core value or part of your mission or maybe how you operate? Like, what's something that wouldn't just
I
be
think, yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is how the company evolved from, just myself, and how it's slowly grew. And the truth is that most of the company grew from real users who joined me to the journey from the Facebook group that I opened back in 2017 and was mostly used for interaction between users. And from there, one employee joined the company from Australia, and another one from the UK, and another one from Portugal, and another one from the States. And we're kind of a multinational company where most are women, of course. Most are Tempdrop users. And some got pregnant with Tempdrop. Some are not interested in that. So it's really, I think, again, adds to the good feeling of what we're doing here. It's with every startup, you ask yourself, what is the benefit? What are you making? How do you change the world? And if you go to medical devices and you develop something that people, help people with their health, help people with their stress, with things that matter so much, and you are able to, make changes such extreme, in the sense that, from not knowing anything and suddenly understanding what's going on in your body. I think this whole story is what really I like about Tempdrop.
I love to hear that. Is there a competitive advantage? Like if somebody were to come to you and say, well, why wouldn't I just I already have an Aura ring, or
Mm.
been interested in getting this other wearable. I hear Apple's starting to dabble in this. Um,
Well,
surely that question's coming up somewhere. So what would you say?
it does come up, and those devices do measure your temperature. I wouldn't say the basal temperature or sleeping temperature, but I can surely say, first of all, Tempdrop is a medical device, unlike all those gadgets out there. I can also tell you that, as I mentioned earlier, the placement,
Location?
the
Mhm.
location of measurement is crucial. The wrist or the finger has so many environmental noises that affect the measurement site.
Mhm.
Um, I hope that we will soon release some information that really shows how much superior we are with other devices such as the Aura Ring or the Eva bracelet, and we will share that when we can. But in the meantime, I can only say that, again, the measurement location is what makes the whole difference, and focusing on providing the product itself is to help you track your body. Aura, Apple Watch, other devices are more of a general gadgets that can help your, how much sport you made, how much steps you made, and how did you sleep well, etc. Uh, we are focused not only with the accuracy of the result that is crucial to us, but also understanding those monthly patterns and providing users with information that relates to those stages of the cycle. So
Mhm.
I think it's really, if you are trying to conceive, I don't know if I would go with the Apple Watch. I would go with something that gives you accuracy, that gives something that's also,
Designed
much.
specifically for it.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I don't sleep with my watch. I don't like sleeping with a watch. And wearing something here is much more comfortable, and so I think it's, in that sense, Temtop is very specific to those women who want to understand their bodies, get pregnant, or manage their monthly cycle.
I also find I don't want the idea of what some of those devices do while they're on me. Like, I don't want information being transmitted that close to my body all the time. Um,
Yes, that's true.
and so
That's true. We do not. Yes, please.
I,
Sorry.
I like that I can tell temp drop I'm turning on and I'm turning off. And in between, it's not transmitting data. That turn off is transmitting data. And by that point, it's off my body.
Yeah, that's true. We only collect data throughout the night. The only occasions where Bluetooth connection is turned on with the device is only when you want to sync it when you turn it on or when you turn it off. The radiation as itself is minute regardless. Still,
Mm-hmm.
when you're sleeping and when something is stuck under your body, you wouldn't want
Mm-hmm.
it to transmit anything. So we're not doing that. And yeah, I know that many of our users prefer it this way, of course.
So tell me, maybe we could spend just a couple minutes on like best practices. If somebody were going to buy this, maybe a minute on how you would even use it. We've kind of alluded to it in a few different ways, but start to finish, like what does going to bed and waking up look like with it and your phone? And if they want the most accurate temperature, location placement, even the way it's pointed matter, right? So maybe you could give us a little rundown of those things.
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, the sensor has a reference temperature sensor around at the tip, and also the skin sensor is slightly indented outwards, so it could have a good thermal coupling with the body, with the skin. Um, Before you go to sleep, usually you can even do that as part of your bedtime routine. I don't know, after you brush your teeth, you can put it on because we have an accelerometer inside, a motion sensor inside. We filter out all those irrelevant noises. Like if you, again, before you went to sleep, you were up and about a little bit, or even if you woke up in the middle of the night, again, we filter out those noises. So your bedtime routine, you turn on the Tempdrop, put it on where the tip of the sensor is facing towards the elbow, um, and placed here around where um, the axillary artery is. Um, and that's it. You go to sleep. You don't need to use your phone. It logs your data throughout the night, records temperature, very high frequency, your motion as well. And when you wake up in the morning, again, doesn't matter when you wake up, you just take off the device. Doesn't matter when. You don't have to sync it right away. You can grab a coffee or whatever and then sync the device. But when you do, you open the app.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, you open the app, you sync the device, and that's it. The app will show you where you are, what stage you're in. If you know how to chart your cycle, you can go to the charting section in the app and understand what you see there. We, as part of our whole um, movement, I would say it's not our movement, but as part of the whole idea of understanding your body, we have lessons in the app, like the Tempdrop Academy, that helps you understand how to track cervical mucus and track your symptoms and what does it mean and what are the different stages in a female cycle. So you can read those things if you want as well to get a little bit more of relevant knowledge. But then really use the app, and once you see where you're at, you can make any conscious decisions that you want. Really depends on the goal.
Do you have recommendations on? So I'm on day 2 of my cycle right now. If I were to listen to this episode and order one and it arrives in a few days, should I start using it right away? Is there an optimal time in your cycle to begin, or can somebody just throw it on? You know, you're telling it when the first day of your last period was anyway, and just jump in the game, or should you wait?
I would use it right away. I mean, if you already ovulated, you can stay until the next cycle begins. But really, personally, I think that it's better that you wear it because eventually it will become part of most of your month or the whole month,
Mm-hmm.
and then just getting used to it in the beginning. Not that it's too much of a hassle, but again, if you're not used to sleeping with an armband on your upper arm, then maybe a couple of days will be required for you to forget about it, forget that it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then, really, I mean, from the beginning of the cycle, there are users who, especially very advanced users, those who track their body as part of the fertility awareness method, who take shortcuts in a way, like they wear Tempdrop only until after the ovulation spike they identified the spike
Mhm.
clearly, and then during the luteal phase they take it off
And
or whatever.
right.
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, we recommend, at least we recommend, I'd say 80% of the cycle to have temperatures, but really Tempdrop will identify ovulation easily, even if you, after a few days before the next cycle, take it off. That's fine as well.
Does the information get better with time? Does it learn your body in a sense?
Yes, of course, of course. The whole idea behind Tempdrop and why we're retaining so much data per user. Again, we have minute by minute data since 2017 of course, the identify data, and the data is used to training the algorithm, but minute by minute temperature data throughout the night. And I can tell you that different users, different women have different sleeping temperature patterns. So you also have your own temperature pattern during sleep. And yes, the algorithm learns the pattern, it learns the nightly pattern, it
Mhm.
learns the monthly pattern, and the more you use it, it will become more and more accurate and tailored to your body rhythm. That's the whole element of it.
That's so awesome. If I were thinking about purchasing one of these and I am interested in getting pregnant, we just did an episode where we announced Sophia, who's the other co-host on the episode, just conceived. And in our episode, we talked a lot about Tempdrop because we're also best friends. And she's
Yeah,
texting me a picture of her chart, and you see, a temperature go up, and then you see another temperature go up. And she was
that's amazing.
still
That's
she was
amazing.
still before her missed period. And because we know each other so well and we're in this space, I was like, ooh, it could be. Like, nobody said, am I pregnant? This is exciting. It was just like, whoa. And then, you know, we saw more and more attempts, and the attempts weren't going down. So, our first hint that she was actually pregnant was kind of a triphasic shift. But can you explain? You mentioned earlier that Tempdrop could actually maybe be the first thing that tells you you're pregnant. Can you explain to a listener that may not be as educated on fertility awareness how that happens? Like what they'd see on a chart?
Well, yeah, it's quite amazing. The female body is indeed, well, the human body is amazing, but the female body is super amazing. Um, the temperature spike is due to progesterone, and the body basically is like a giant, well, not a giant, but it's like an incubator. It should
Mm-hmm.
incubate, a fertile egg. And if so, right after ovulation, there's a temperature spike that potentially would house or incubate a fertile egg. And then during the days of the luteal phase, which is rather fixed and
Period
not
of time.
doesn't, yeah, fixed time. During this phase, if the ovum was fertilized, then the temperature would go a little bit up, which is the triphasic, as you mentioned. And if the egg is not fertilized, then the body conserves its energy, and then the temperature will go back down, and the woman will get her period. Now, in that sense, this is so amazing. I would like to share a story that we once saw. I mean, a user a long time ago reached out to support and shared her chart with us. And the chart was quite, um, it was amazing, but it was not very nice to see. What we saw was a clear pregnancy, and then after about a month and a half, there was a decrease in temperature that slowly went down for two weeks or so, and then and she reached out to us, and we knew that she had a miscarriage.
Miscarriage. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it was clear to me, and this is, I mean, if you ask me as an engineer, as someone who developed this, what I would want to do, yes, I would want to achieve that. I would want to be able to diagnose those situations that in the first trimester, if suddenly the temperature is starting to slowly drop, hey, go check it out,
Goes
go
to
to
your
a doctor.
doctor. Mm-hmm.
Progesterone, yeah, maybe you should get some additional progesterone. And these are things that if you would have not listened to your body, I mean, if you would not have this information, you would know. For that user, by the way, it was clear she kept on wearing the Tempdrop. It went down, and after 2 months, she kept wearing it. And after 2 months, she got pregnant again, and she took it off. I guess she didn't want to be nervous or
Yes.
something.
Mm-hmm.
But we know after we follow up, she was fine. The baby was fine.
Oh,
But the
yay.
but the whole idea of how the body, female body, has this pattern that, and every phase has its, its unique signature. I think really it's amazing, and that's what we do most of the time. We look at patterns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you were at a doctor or if you were at a hospital, I was there a lot recently. My dad was in the hospital a lot, and they have these different monitors on you. And oftentimes they're looking at like heart rhythms or O2 sats, and you see like an up and down and up and down. And there's a rhythm they're looking at. And a specialist can look at that rhythm and go, oh, he's in AFib, or there's a little arrhythmia here. Oh, but it went back on. Oh, every few minutes his thing would start beeping because his oxygen sats would go down because his little tube in his nose was moving. Just like that, as incredible and insightful and reactive as that, so too our temperature itself is one of the things that doctors rely on as an indicator of what acutely is going on within your body. Oftentimes they're interested in, are you hypothermic and do we need to like bring your body temperature up, or is this temperature showing a sign of infection? But
Fever, yeah, fever, infection, yes.
in the female body, we see temperature immediately shift as soon as progesterone hits the stage. As soon as ovulation happens, that egg is released. What gets left behind turns into a corpus luteum. That corpus luteum, unless it sees pregnancy hormone, has a definitive amount of time it can raise your body temperature with progesterone. And then it will say, oh, we're not pregnant. Let's reset for next cycle, because your body wants you to get pregnant. Your body's looking for it month after month after month. And so when you look at a temperature chart, you see kind of low and a little bit of a rhythm, and then a shift up, and it stays within a thin line, and then it goes down. So different than that, like peak and valley, peak and valley, peak and valley of your heart rhythm, your temperature rhythm's kind of like, if you were doing music notes, it would be like bum, 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 bum. If it
Yeah,
only hangs out in this bottom part, bum, you probably have PCOS or you probably have
exactly.
hypothalamic
Or
amenorrhea.
you're a male, or
Yeah,
you're a
right.
male wearing Tempdrop.
Yeah. So we're looking for a particular signature. Now, when you're just bum, 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 when you start seeing that higher note come up,
Yes,
that is
yes.
very exciting because your body got some sort of feedback to that corpus
Hmm.
luteum saying, there's a reason to bump this temperature up. And
Okay,
as you
yes,
said, kind of like incubate, I like to think about it as like the mother hen hormone. Like the hen sits on the egg to raise
exactly.
the
It's the same thing.
temperature and
Hmm.
incubate. It allows for cell
Hmm.
division. It's a very tightly regulated orchestration. So it's fun to think about it like music notes because your body is so smart. And what Michael has done, and I feel a little bit like chills that I didn't realize we were getting the founder on the podcast today until we started chatting, is he's tuned into that rhythm. It's like somebody, being deaf and then all of a sudden hearing for the first time. Mr.
Yeah,
Holland's opus of sorts. It's like all of a sudden your life gets turned on to this, not just hand you the keys for your fertility and maybe you get pregnant faster, or maybe you find out you have a health condition that is actually stopping you from getting pregnant, which Tempdrop has helped me help people see. But in any case, you're being handed this gift with a device that frankly, if you're spending between the $100 and $200 mark for something that can be your best friend for a very long time with a very inexpensive battery change at some point, that can give you access to understanding your body, it's like all of a sudden you're a cardiologist. You now can read that chart for yourself and say, oh, that's arrhythmia. Like something's weird here.
No, but it's just zoom out. It's all a matter of perspective. So arrhythmia is, it's a minute by minute, but then if you zoom out month by month, again, you see this pattern.
Yes.
And when I started, I saw a TED
A TED Talk?
presentation,
Uh-huh.
TED Talk by Talithia Williams. I
Uh-huh.
highly recommend that you see. Her notion was show me the data. She talks exactly about this. She talks about how tracking her body temperature helped her understand her body and understand her cycle. And the notion is there is show me the data and I can understand what's going on. I can make informed decision. I can understand my body. So again, I recommend if you get a chance, check it out. Talithia
Yeah.
Williams TED Talk.
We'll
It's
link
quite
it in the
amazing.
show notes. Is there
Yeah, yeah.
anything else, maybe a hopeful message or something you want to leave our listeners with today? Before we wrap up, I'm going to teach you about a segment we do at the end of the podcast. But before we go there, I'd love just to give you an opportunity to share anything else personal or about the company or about anything that's kind of coming up soon that you might feel relevant to the audience.
I hope we'll be able to share our um, some of the results that we have on the accuracy of Tempdrop very soon. Um, and
That's exciting.
yeah,
I'm at the edge of my seat for that information.
just know your body. I mean, understand your body. It gives you so much power. It can help you a lot. It can ease your stress, understanding what's going on inside your body. So yeah, use the Tempdrop.
What would you say to any of the male partners listening?
That they have to learn more about the amazing rhythms in a woman's body. They relate, the joke is always, PMS, or, know when to move away, maybe, but there are other events throughout the monthly cycle. And if you know all those different elements of the cycle, you would know better about your partner. You know better
Mhm.
about, again, for you
How
as
to
well, if you
support
would,
her, how to draw
how to
into her, maybe
yeah, yes, yes,
the opposite of pull
understand,
away.
understand her cycle. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
I think it's, I continue to get more and more amazed by women's bodies, especially after being pregnant and having a baby myself, which I'm not going to go into too much because I know it's the dream of most everyone listening to this right now. I'm not trying to rub salt in your wound, but it is amazing what women's bodies can do. And
Hmm.
not that I want you to worship women's bodies, but as a man, I feel like if I was attracted to women, I'd be like, wow, your nipples do that and that. Your body does that and that. Like, this is amazing. And what an opportunity to like grow in your attraction and grow in your amazement for this person you've chosen to couple your life with and you're trying to grow a family with.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
We've
The
we the
patterns are amazing, and the female body, it has like a drawing, like a monthly drawing. You can see what's
mhm,
happening inside. So it amazes me every time, every time.
every time. Okay, Michael, this has been so fun. I can't wait. Well, this is going out in 2 days, so we're not going to have to wait long for our audience to hear this. But we end our segment, our podcast every time with something we call the Yeah Girl, and for men, we call it the My Man segment where we celebrate something. So sometimes the point of this is sometimes we cover really sad things. We talk about miscarriage and loss. We talk about long fertility journeys. Sometimes episodes were empowering, but they're not so high of a note. And so we always end on something happy. Can be personal, can be professional, can be about your company, but something that makes you go like, this is so cool. And I'm going to say to you, my man. So I'll go first so you can kind of get a taste for what this looks
Okay.
like. Okay. What comes to mind for me right now is I handed off, I'm writing a book called How to Get Pregnant with PCOS. And this weekend, I handed off my manuscript to an editor. So we're like pushing this project to the next step. It's probably going to come out sometime shortly after the new year. And I got a little bit of early feedback on just the intro and chapter 1, and I just can't be more excited to get this book out. I think it's really going to change the landscape for women with PCOS, just accessibility wise. And I have dreams of translating it into different languages, and I'm just really, really stoked. And I will tell you, there's a whole chapter on how to know if you're ovulating and when you're ovulating. And so Tempdrop, you are certainly at the top of the list for solutions to help someone with that journey.
Wow.
So I'm so excited that it's like in its next phase.
Wow.
So yeah, so
Wow.
that's when you go, yeah, girl.
Yay, girl.
Yeah. All right. So anything you want to celebrate could be like, I just bicycled the furthest I've ever bicycled, or we tried this new recipe this weekend and it was delicious.
Well, I'm I'm very proud of the company that I was able to build with amazing people, talented people, smart people, very nice people. Um, I was fortunate enough to pursue something that, first of all, helps women, helps couples, and second, also in a way, fulfilled something that I've since I was a kid. I thought, maybe I'll invent something and make
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was able to achieve that. So for
Yeah.
me, yeah, it's quite amazing, and again, every day I'm very proud of the company and the team and what they do and what we do. So I guess if there's something to celebrate, I would say
It's
this is
feeling
it.
proud. Hey, my
Yes,
man, that's
indeed.
awesome.
Thank you.
I was just on a call with somebody, and it was a like writing accountability group, and he was talking about he's kind of that kind of nerdy brain in tech and in programming, and he's like, my book, it's about tech debt, but when people read your book and they take it seriously, there will be more babies in the world. He's like, what's better than more babies in the world? And so I want to say that to you. There is a woman out there that is losing hope if she'll be a mother, that wonders why her body isn't working and needs data to make informed choices about what to do next. Some people don't get pregnant and they assume something's wrong and move straight into fertility treatment. And it may just be that, the first year of my husband and I trying to get pregnant, he worked second shift and I worked first shift, and we were ships passing in the night, and I had long cycles and ovulated irregularly. And just like looking back, we didn't really have much of an opportunity to hit my
Mm,
fertile window well. And so there's someone that's going to get this information, get a Tempdrop, and have a lot of relief. There are others that are going to get it, learn about their body, and realize I'm not ovulating and I need support. And their journey will be helped by this. But at the end of the day, a lot of your users are trying to get pregnant and they do have babies. And so at the end of the day, it's like an impact. The nerdy little 7-year-old Michael that wanted to invent something, like you have some true full circle joy, but there are
yeah.
babies in this world, Michael, because of your impact. And
Yeah.
to that, I say, my man, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks. Yeah. Temper babies, the droplets in the Facebook group, they were called droplets.
I love that. I love that. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. I want to thank you for your time today,
Thank
spending an
you.
hour with me
You too.
chatting. And we feel really privileged to be a part of the Tempdrop family and for you to have sponsored our summer season. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. This podcast is meant to help others achieve their dreams of motherhood and fatherhood.
I'm
So
sure it
thank you
does.
for
Thank you
that.
very much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Listeners, subscribe, like, send this to a friend if you think, wow, maybe this would help them in their journey. And then the best way that you can help us is head over to one of the podcast apps that allow you to actually write a review. Apple is top of that list. and tell us how an episode like this helped you. And I want to thank you for your time, and we'll see you next week.